algebra students, we're going to be taking our test tomorrow. So today is the review day. I have all of the problems from the worksheet. So feel free to just watch the parts that you really need from this video, or watch the whole thing if you just want a good overall review of everything. So we're going to start by factoring out a GCF, the greatest common factor. So in number 1, I can see that I don't have variables in all of them, so there won't be any variable part for my GCF. The 90, 70, and 30 can all be divided by 10, and that's the biggest number that I can take out of each of those. So the 10 is going to be factored out. Remember, this is like a reverse distribution. If you want to make a note of that, you can. When I factor out a 10, or divide everything by 10, 90 divided by 10 would be 9, 70 divided by 10 would be 7, and then I still have my b squared. 30 divided by 10 would be 3b cubed. And number 2, numbers that go into 30 and 54 and 18. So we're looking for the biggest number that goes into all of those. I think that's going to be 6. Yeah, 6 is the best that we can do for numbers. When I look at my x's, I have x's in all 3 terms. However, the smallest number of x's that I have is an x squared, so I can't go any bigger than that. And for y's, I have one of them that's a y squared. The other 2 just have a regular y, so that's all I can take out is just a regular y. So remember, we're factoring out, we're dividing all of this stuff out. So 30 divided by 6 would be 5. I had an x to the 4th. I'm going to take out 2 of those x's, and I'd be left with x squared. I had a y squared, and I'm going to take out one of those y's. There'll be just a y left. 54 divided by 6 is 9. X cubed, and I take out an x squared, there's only an x left. There was a y, but I factored it out, so it's not left inside the parentheses. Minus 18 divided by 6 would be 3. And then the x squared all came out and the y came out. Nothing left on that one. Make sure that when you're done, you look at what's in the parentheses. Make sure there's not another common factor, because if there is, you didn't get the greatest common factor. For number 3, I need numbers that will go into 81, 54, and 36. I think 9 is going to be the best that we can do for numbers. 9 and 6 and 4. Yep, that's the best I can do. For my x's, every single term, x cubed, x cubed, x cubed, I can take out the whole thing. For the y's, I have a y to the 4th and a y to the 3rd and a y to the 2nd. I have to go with the y to the 2nd. I can't take out more than what's there. So in each of these, I kind of gave my 3 a little haircut there. In each of the terms, 81 divided by 9 is 9. There were 3 x's, I took them all out. There were 2 y's that I'm taking out of the 4 that started there, there's 2 left. 54 divided by 9 is 6. All 3 x's came out, 2 of the y's came out, there's 1 y left over. 36 divided by 9, notice I just put that subtraction in there, it's going to be 4. All 3 x's, both y's, no variable left on that one. Number 4, all of the coefficients, all the numbers are divisible by 7. And all of the parts, all of the terms have some x's. X to the 4th is the smallest exponent on there, so we're going to go with that. And then we do have just some regular y's. We can't go more than just a regular y on that one. So negative 21 divided by 7 would be negative 3. There were 4 x's. I factored all 4 of them out, so there's no x's left. There were 2 y's. I factored one of them out, 1 left. 70 divided by 7 is 10. X to the 5th and x to the 4th is what's coming out. There's 1 x left, and I took out the y. 49 divided by 7 is 7. X to the 7th, and I'm taking out 4 of those x's, so that'll be an x to the 3rd, and I took out the y. That's our GCF factoring. In these next ones, notice they're not always x's, and that's okay. We did tend to stick a lot with x's, but we don't have to. These are not equations. We're not solving anything here. This is getting us parentheses. We're getting binomials when we do this. So in number 5, there's our x and our x. This tells me different signs. And I know that some people look at that 110 and kind of freak out a little bit, but think about numbers that would multiply to be 110 and subtract to be 1. We got a negative 1x there. That's going to be 10 and 11. Because this is negative, that tells me that the bigger number, the 11, goes here, and the 10 goes there. For number 6, instead of x's, we've got r's here. This tells me that I've got different signs, so one's plus and one's minus. But numbers that multiply to be 2, I only have 1 and 2. And the middle term is a positive 1r, which means the bigger number, the 2, goes with the plus, the smaller one goes with the minus. For number 7, multiplied and I got a negative, different signs. Multiplies to be 44, subtracts to be 7, that's going to be 11 and 4. And this tells me I've got more negatives, so the 11 goes here, 4 goes there. For number 8, this tells me same signs. This tells me that those same signs are both going to be addition. Multiplies to be 11 and adds to be 12. Again, 11 doesn't have a lot of options. It's 11 and 1, and that does add to be 12. This tells me that I've got different signs, and I need numbers that multiply to be 108 and subtract to be 3. Now that one I'm going to have to think a little bit here. If I would have 108 divided by, oh, that's not going to work. I'm sorry, I should have had this one figured out, and I don't have my answer key here with me. 108 divided by 9 is 12. 9 and 12 multiply to be 108. And I know that I need more negatives. So the 12 is going to have to go here, the 9 is there. For number 10, same signs, both addition, multiplies to be 60, adds to be 16, that'll have to be 6 and 10. More of the same. I'm not going to talk through as much, I think, because at this point this should be like truly a review. Same signs, both minus. Multiplies to be 18, adds to be 9, that's going to be a 6 and a 3. Or a 3 and then a 6, doesn't matter. Different signs. Multiplies to be 36, subtracts to be 9, that's going to be 12 and 3. More negatives, so 12 goes here, 3 goes here. This tells me different signs. Multiplies to be 27, subtracts to be 6, that's going to be a 9 and a 3, and I've got more negatives. Big number there, small number there. This tells me different signs. Multiplies to be 21 and subtracts to be 4, 7 and 3. I've got more positives, so the 7 goes here and the 3 goes here. This tells me that they are the same signs. That arrow didn't really line up very well, but that's okay. Same signs. This tells me that they're both subtractions. Numbers that multiply to be 84 and add to be 19. 12 times 7 is 84, and 12 plus 7 is 19. So they're the same signs, it doesn't matter which one goes where. This tells me same signs. This tells me they're both negatives then. So multiplies to be 15, adds to be 8, that's going to be 5 and 3. Excuse me. Now we need to solve it after we factor it. So we're going to factor, and then we'll use the zero product property. So in number 17, this is equal to 0, so I can just go ahead and factor. This tells me different signs. Multiplies to be 5, subtracts to be 4. It's got to be 5 and 1. This tells me the bigger number is the negative. Now here's where I don't want you to get confused. I said that the bigger number went with the negative. But when I solve this, I'm going to say, what number plus 1 gives me 0? That's a negative 1. And what number minus 5 gives me 0? That's going to be a positive 5. So when we find our answer, remember, they're going to be changing signs from the factoring part. I'm so sorry. This tells me same signs, and they're both negatives. Multiplies to be 21, adds to be 10. It's got to be 7 and 3. So m minus 7 equals 0, or m minus 3 equals 0. Two answers, and you need them both. In 19, remember, we need it to be equal to 0. And we did a problem like this in the last lesson, where it's really tempting to move that p squared. But I don't know if, well, I know we haven't done any factoring when the first term was negative. So we're going to take the time to move these two. We can do them both in the same step. We just want to make sure that we're careful about the order. So I'll have p squared minus 3p minus 40 equals 0. This tells me different signs. Multiplies to be 40, subtracts to be 3, that's going to be 8 and 5. This tells me that the bigger number, the 8, is going to go here with the subtraction. And 5 goes here. So now, because I'm multiplying these two and they give me 0 for an answer, either p plus 5 was 0, or p minus 8 was 0. So p equals negative 5, or p equals 8. For this last one, I do need to move the 14x. When I move that, again, the order matters. Make sure that I'm putting this where it's going to make it easier for me to factor. So I would want x squared minus 14x plus 48. This tells me they're the same signs. This tells me they're both negatives. Numbers that multiply to be 48 and add to be 14, that's going to be 6 and 8. So either x minus 6 was equal to 0, or x minus 8 was equal to 0. I'm just going to do this one. I haven't done this on any of them yet, but remember, if you're stuck, if you're not absolutely sure, you can show that work. So those are my two answers. Okay. Here are the last two. I just didn't have enough space to squeeze them all onto the board at once. So we're going to get rid of this 11x. X squared minus 11x plus 28 equals 0. Same signs, both negatives. multiplies to be 28 and adds to be 11. That's 4 and 7. So either x minus 4 is 0, or x minus 7 is 0. And for number 22, again, don't move the p squared. Let's move the other stuff. Be careful with your signs. Almost wrote an X right away. This tells me same signs. This tells me they're both negatives. Multiplies to be 10, adds to be 7. That's 5 and 2. So P either equals 5 or it equals 2. The chapter 7, I'm so sorry, review sheet for factoring is now all done. The answer keys in Schoology if you need to check anything. There is no formative today, but make sure that you're ready for the test. If there's anything that you need help with, reach out to me today. Don't wait until it's too late. Good luck.